Hello and welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today is Friday the 17th of January 2020 and today we have a couple of updates on previous reports and of course some new ones. So first up is the result of a misconduct hearing over an incident I previously reported on the 8th of January regarding PC Hannah White and PC Jamie Woodfine. Here's a little reminder. Next up we have PC Hannah White and PC Jamie Woodfine and they're going to be appearing for a misconduct hearing between Monday 13th and Wednesday the 15th of January in Dorset following an incident that happened on June 25th 2018. The two PCs were accused of failing to arrest a man in breach of a non-molestation order, failing to follow Dorset Police domestic abuse investigations policy and procedure, and knowingly making false, misleading or inaccurate entries onto the police force's system. I'll link to the full video of that report up here. Well, the hearing has been heard and I hear that on the 14th of January, following a thorough investigation in relation to allegations that their conduct on duty had fallen below the standards of professional behaviour in respect of honesty and integrity and duties and responsibilities, the panel found that both officers had breached professional standards as alleged and that those breaches amounted to gross misconduct. Following the misconduct hearing, Deputy Chief Constable David Lewis said, "Our officers have to adhere to the highest standards of professional behaviour, in particular their honesty and integrity, must be beyond reproach. As a force, we are committed to the protection and safeguarding of vulnerable people, and in this case, the officers failed to comply with the force's domestic abuse investigation policy and procedure, and knowingly caused an inaccurate log entry of the incident to be recorded. I agree with the panel's view that the officers' actions amounted to gross misconduct and were sufficient to warrant dismissal. I hope this case demonstrates that we will take action against officers who fail to maintain the high standards that we set and what is expected of them when carrying out their duties in serving and protecting the public." Woodfine was dismissed without notice and White would have been dismissed had she not already left the force. Our next update is over James Farrar. Here's a little reminder of that one. Police officers arrested a man for unlawful force in Parliament Square last year, which is currently a case going through court. 51-year-old James Farrar, a trade union leader, was demonstrating in London last year while leading a demonstration against a decision to levy the congestion charge. The alleged assault occurred when police tried to clear the protesting Uber drivers and Farrar spoke through his loudhailer near the heads of Sergeant James Lewis and PC and Sphincter. I'll link to that video up here as well or in the description. Who I only reported on the 15th of January. Farrar was arrested and charged with 2 counts of assault by beating from sound waves as he used a loudhailer to speak to protesters in Parliament Square on March the 4th last year. Prosecutor Terence Woods argued that while there was no physical beating, using the loudhailer in proximity to the officers was an unlawful application of force. Now, although I have to congratulate Judge Philip Bartle for throwing the case out of court, I'm concerned that it was even allowed to get this far at the cost of the taxpayers. Judge Bartle said it would be violence to the English language to say that using a megaphone was an application of force. There was no actus reus, guilty act, because speaking for a megaphone cannot and does not amount to the application of force. What he was doing to address the protesters was, given the circumstances, entirely appropriate. Although it did seem as though the judge did try to justify some of the actions in order to quash the defence argument by suggesting that the Met Police constables had pre-existing conditions, saying that there is evidence that each of these 2 officers suffered immediate pain and injury to their ears, and that he dismissed that the prosecution would have infringed on Mr. Farrar's rights to protest and free speech under the European Convention on Human Rights. Anyway, those issues aside, the case against Farrar has been dropped. But isn't it amazing, as I've said in my previous report about this, how the police love to use the public's, waste the public's money, prosecuting the public over the silliest things. But yet if we called the police for the same reasons, they would simply tell us that it's not in a public interest and it would cost us personally thousands to take someone to court. It's a shame the judges don't look at the particulars of a case before they come into court and decide at their level whether it should go ahead or not before thousands more are spent on court cases. That's it for updates. Now we move on to the new stuff. In 1978, evidence from Cheshire Police Force led to the imprisonment of Paul Blackburn for the attempted murder and sexual assault of a young boy when he was 15, with the only notable evidence against him being a confession he signed after 4 hours of questioning by 2 senior officers with no parent or lawyer present. 2 years after Paul was released in 2003, the Court of Appeal quashed the conviction, stating that the claims he had wrote the confession unaided can now be seen to be untrue. Now, 42 years after his conviction, a judge has called for the police to apologise. However, the police have refused to do so, even after the police lied at the trial. The now retired appeal court judge who overturned the conviction, unfortunately for Paul, after he had served his sentence, had said the force should say sorry. He said, in the light of the findings of our court about the way in which some of the officers of the force had lied at trial, leading to a wrongful conviction, I would have thought it would have been appropriate for them to apologise. Paul's ordeal in prison over his sentence was made even worse by his refusal to accept the protection offered to sex offenders because he maintained his innocence. Over his first 15 years in jail, Blackburn said he endured beatings on a daily basis, abuse on a daily basis, spat on a daily basis. Adding, the first time I was placed on report officially by a prison officer was for refusing a direct order to mop up my own blood off the floor. Paul said that he was later assisted by older, more educated prisoners who helped him push for an appeal. See, not all crooks are tossers. Paul revealed how he gets quite distressed on a daily basis, replaying things over and over again. He said, you're standing there doing the ironing and all of a sudden you're in full Sutton jail mode, in a punishment block. Different things will set me off, uniforms, keys, all this sort of thing. Okay, so Cheshire Police Force. Just say sorry for fuck's sake. You lied and you got caught out. You're never going to get done for perjury, so just say sorry to the man whose life you've ruined. Have some decency. Maybe you can try and help regain a shred of respect that you've lost over the years. Detective Inspector Ben Meakin from Derby Police is accused of sexual misconduct against 5 female officers. The alleged incident dates back to 2009 when Meakin was a sergeant, where between 2009 and 2011 he allegedly sent texts to a female colleague asking if he could visit her home for coffee. Nothing too bad there. But wait. He asked her what colour pants she was wearing. Pants? Really? We are not in America. Nobody uses the word pants when they're talking about women's knickers. Meakin accepted that there was a message sent about pants, but said that the message had nothing to do with the colour and was about if she was wearing warm pants. Wonder why you would want to know if she was wearing warm pants. Maybe to help keep her ankles warm. Bada boom. Between 2011 and 12, it's alleged that while sitting at a table with the same colleague, he moved his leg into contact with hers. When she moved away, she claims he did it again. And finally, between 2017 and 18, he is accused of grabbing the same colleague's head on a stairwell and kissing her forehead. To which Meakin admits happened, but says there was nothing sexual about it, and thought that she just wanted to hug him. Good God, man. Is that your defence? You thought she wanted to hug you? I mean, come on now. At least be man enough to say you fancied her, you were flirty, you didn't realise that she thought you was a cretin. Anything but you thought she wanted to hug you. The hearing heard a third complaint. A community support officer had come forward with allegations related to a period of several years. In 2013, he is alleged to have visited her home without notice and without being invited. Later in the same year, during a work event at the Standing Order pub in Irongate, Derby, Detective Inspector Meakin had been drinking. He allegedly put his hand on the officer's knee, and then when she moved away, she says he did it again. He is also accused of putting his hand under her skirt and putting his hand on her thigh near her bottom. The misconduct hearing heard how the officer did not complain at the time because she did not want to make a scene and did not want to jeopardise her job. In another incident between March and September in 2018 at St Mary's Wharf, Meakin is accused of describing the colleague as fit while looking at pictures of her on Facebook. It is also claimed that he said to another colleague that he wanted to put his hand down her pants while he was alone with her in a cellar. While on yet another occasion, he allegedly made sexualised comments towards or within earshot of a female PC that made her feel uncomfortable. She was probably a lesbian. Specifically, on one occasion, where the female PC showed Detective Inspector Meakin a picture of her mother, and he described her as fit. It was said, when the PC responded to the officer to the effect of, "You're old enough to be my dad," Detective Inspector Meakin allegedly responded, "Well, I could be your dad because I fucked your mum." Richard Littler QC, who appeared for Detective Meakin, or Detective Inspector Meakin, said that Meakin has a management style that includes physical contact with his colleagues and was the same with all of his colleagues. The hearing will continue for about 2 weeks as witnesses appear and give statements for and against Detective Inspector Meakin. Next we have a... Oh dear, not this lot again. Next we have a former special constable from West Yorkshire Police, Kamran Hussain, who on September the 9th pleaded guilty to using a vehicle on the road fitted with a blue warning beacon. Hussain used his blue warning beacon on his dashboard to pull a driver over whilst he was off duty, while in another instance he pulled a driver over and identified himself as a police officer. Hussain was arrested on suspicion of impersonating a police officer, but when it was established he was a serving special, very special, he was further arrested on suspicion of misconduct. Hussain was found guilty and fined £119, 85 court costs and 30 victim surcharge. PC Dean Atkinson-Sturt has been dismissed from Surrey Police after an inappropriate relationship with a teenage girl who he first met in 2006. PC Sturt has been described as manipulative before being dismissed without notice after he took advantage of the woman's desire to become a police officer and then deliberately lying about his conduct. In December 2008, when she was just 16 and he was 25, he made contact with her through Facebook and began a relationship, the IOPC revealed. There is no evidence to suggest he acted inappropriately with her in the 2 years prior to her turning 16. In 2018, the same woman made a formal complaint to Surrey Police about Sturt's behaviour, which she believed had been inappropriate given his position as a police officer. Took her a while to get that complaint in though, didn't it? The disciplinary panel on December the 6th found that PC Sturt breached police professional standards relating to discreditable conduct, honesty and integrity, authority and respect and courtesy, and he has been dismissed without notice. 29-year-old PC Matt Simpson, a police constable from Cumbria, has been found guilty of gross misconduct after knocking boots during late-night encounters with a female he was having a casual relationship with on more than 20 separate occasions. The woman, only identified as Miss X, said at the hearing in Penrith the aspiring detective would arrive wearing a high-vis jacket and equipped with a body-worn camera, handcuffs, baton and taser device. She didn't say nothing about a strap-on. He would turn his radio on loud when we were having sex in case his collar number got called out, she said. The misconduct hearing concluded that on-duty sex with Miss X constituted gross misconduct, as did searches he had made about her on a police computer system because he was curious about her. He was paid to work and serve his community, not to do what he did with Miss X, he said. But let's be fair here. His job basically consists of fucking everyone he comes into contact with in one way or another, so really he was doing what he's trained to do. The panel also concluded police material found on the constable's phone and at home, as well as work images sent to his regular partner, constituted misconduct. Deputy Chief Constable Mark Webster said his actions fell far below the standards we expect. Simpson has been dismissed. Sergeant Paul Colgan from Central West Command of the Metropolitan Police. Now, I've searched and cannot find any info or other reports about this, apart from this one misconduct outcome report on the Met's own website. Cogan has been issued with a final written warning for misconduct after being in breach of authority, respect and courtesy and discreditable conduct. On the 8th of January 2018, whilst on duty, Sergeant Colgan threatened to assault and damage uniform and personal property belonging to a colleague he believed had taken his property. Naughty boy. But seriously though, this is the kind of behaviour you'd expect from a child, but personally I don't really think it's worthy of disciplinary action, in my opinion. I think we've all said to someone, give it back or I'll give you a slap. Even in jest, or even seriously, but does it require disciplinary action? I don't think it does, to be fair, but you know, that's just my opinion. Our last report today is that of a 19-year-old woman who has been taken to court and convicted 3 times in 9 months in Manchester after being deemed a public nuisance for trying to take her own life on multiple occasions. The young woman's name has not been released, but her latest court appearance was on the 14th of January, where District Judge John Timperley asked the probation officer in court if she had been attending a community order imposed on her for previous offences of causing a public nuisance when she threatened to jump off a motorway bridge in Greater Manchester. Twice. The probation officer said that they are struggling to engage with her. She has only attended one appointment so far. Mr. Timperley then asked if she's not suitable for a community order. If it's crossed the custody threshold, there's no other alternative than prison, is what I'm getting at. The woman, who has a history of mental health problems and who has been diagnosed with emotional and unstable personality disorder, something I also suffer from, I'm not ashamed to say, has most recently been charged with 2 counts of assault by beating of an emergency worker. In a statement read to the court, one of the officers said, "My aim was to protect her from herself, and in doing so, I then became the victim." The court heard that the defendant was held in custody, and during this time she wrote her name in her own blood on the wall of her police cell. For this, she was charged with a 3rd count of criminal damage for writing her name in blood, and was subsequently held on remand for more than 24 hours before she appeared in court on Tuesday afternoon. The public services are actually trying to assist you. You have a lot of problems, Judge Timperley told the defendant. This court has imposed an order in part to you with the way you have been behaving in the past few months. Do you understand? You seem to be ignoring that. It looks like you almost want to be sent to prison. Maybe she just wants some help. If I don't send you to prison, are you going to engage with the community order? She replied, "Yes, I had an appointment this morning. I was going to go." Judge Timperley continued, "The incident on the East Lancs Road was incredibly serious. Both you and the officers could have been hurt. You must get help for your mental health difficulties rather than wasting the time of people who need to provide a service to the public." Judge Timperley said he would impose a 12-month conditional discharge on her, but also ordered to pay a £100 compensation to each of the officers she scratched when she was being grabbed off of the bridge. Speaking after the case, the young lady said, "It's just a pile of shit. Every time I go to A&E, they don't know what to do with me. They just don't get it. People with personality disorders, they don't know what to do with it. I've told them lots of times it's only going to take so many times before someone ends their life." Barbara Keeley, MP of Worsley and Eccles South and Shadow Cabinet Minister for Mental Health, questioned whether this prosecution was in a public interest. Ms Keeley said there are a number of deeply worrying issues raised by this case. The young woman experienced a mental health crisis, should have been taken to hospital, not held in a police cell. It's also concerning that the police in Salford continue to prosecute a young woman with a history of mental health problems for her actions when she was in extreme distress. When the police intervene to support someone in mental health crisis, their role should be to provide support, not to criminalise their actions. It's not at all clear how this prosecution is in a public interest when this young woman is in desperate need of support from mental health services, not fines and criminal convictions. Greater Manchester Police chose not to comment on the lady's case, but a spokesperson for the force did say its priority was the welfare of the individual and the public. They also said, "Our officers are often the first responders to people suffering a mental health crisis, which can be extremely challenging, but our main priority is always the welfare of the individual and members of the public. With help from our partners in the mental health services, we've trained thousands of officers in how to deal with people with various mental health conditions and help direct individuals to the support they need. It is vitally important that Greater Manchester Police continues to work with partners to ensure we have a consistent and clear understanding of mental health, and that the vulnerable people in our communities receive the best possible help and support they need." Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Please like, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other and film the police.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.